Jai Shishara Ganja Bihari Jai Divina Jai Baladev Mahishu Padre Jai Shri Ganesha Jai Rama Rama Ganja Bihari Jai Rama Rama Ganja Bihari Gopi Jana Baba Girivai Gopi Jana Baba Girivai Yasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Rama Rama Kunjabihari Jai Radha Kunjabihari Radha Kunjabihari Radha Jai Radha Kunjabihari Radha Kunjabihari Radha Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Mai Subhadra Jai Srinatha Ji Jai Bhagopal Jai Srinatha Ji Jai Giri Govardhan Jaya Gaurani Jai Jaya Gaurani Jai Jaya Gaurani Jai Jaya Gaurani Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya 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 Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Astodhara Saptashi Shrimad Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON Abhayacharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Shrimadhakanja Bihari Ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Mahishu Padre Ki, Shri Nathaji Shri Balagopal Ki, Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Nitai Go
Hari Hari.
All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the glorious feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gaur. We're in text 31.
31, 32. Yeah, 31 doesn't have purport.
Doesn't have. So we go into 32.
31, 32.
So I'll chant 31. Read the translation and we'll jump to 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya
Pratyam
Naram Chaiva Narottama
Naram Chaiva Narottama
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamajiraya Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu
Prayashu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Utama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Offer my humble obeisances to my spiritual master, who with the torchlight of knowledge has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. We are reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, text number 31 and 32, and because 31 does not have a purport, I will read the Sanskrit and English, and we will jump then into repetition with each other at text 32. Evam vidha gandanditanam. Sorry, I paused there, but I just said I was going to read through it. I didn't pronounce that correctly, is why I stopped. Gandantinam. Evam vidha gandantinam. Sagira parayositam niriksanena vinandan sasmitena yaya hari. Text 30, translation. While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur were greeting him and taking in this way the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings, and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. Text 32, please, we go word for word. Ajata Satru Pritana Ajata Satru Pritana Gopitaya Madhu Dvisa Gopitaya Madhu Dvisa Arebya Sankita Snehat Snehat Parebya Sankita Snehat
Parebya Sankita Snehat
Pyunkta
Prayukta
Chatur
Chatur
Agjinim
Anginim
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Ajita Satru Pratinam
Ajata Satrupurtana
Gopitaya Madhu Dvisa
Gopitaya Madhurisa
Parebya Sankita Snehat
Parebya Sankita Snehat
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Ajita Satru Pritanam
Ajata Satrupritana
Gopitaya Madhu Dvisa
Gopitaya Madhurisa
Parebya Sankita Snehat
Parebya Sankita Snehat
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Prayukta Chaturanginim Ajata Satru Pritana
Ajita Satru Pritanam
Gopitaya Madhudvisa
Gopitaya Madhu Dvisa
Parebya Sankita Sneha
Pravebhyo Sankita Snehat
Prayukta Chaturanginim
Prayunta Chaturanginim
Ajata Satrugritanam
Adita Satrupretanam
Gopitaya Madhudvisha
Gopitaya Madhusvisa
Parebhya Sankita Sneha
Adebhya Sankita Snehat
Prayukta Chaturangini
Prayuta Satranginim Ajita Satrupratanam Gopitaya Madhudvisa Parebhya Sankita Snehat Prayuta Chaturanginim Angita Sadhu Ajita Satru Maharaj Yudhisthira, who was no one's enemy,
Maharaj Yudhisthira, who has no one's enemy.
Pratanam, defensive forces, Gopitaya, for giving protection, Madhudvisa, of the enemy of Madhu, Parebhya, from others, enemies, Sankita, being afraid of, Snehat, out of affection, Prayanta, engaged, Chatur Anginim, for defensive division. Ajita Satrupritanam Gopitaya Madhudvisha Parebhya Sankita Snehat Prayanta Chaturanginim. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhisthira, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy, and also out of affection for the Lord. Please repeat. Maharaj Yudhisthira, although no one's enemy, engage 4 divisions of defense.
Four divisions of defense.
Horse, elephant, chariot, and army.
Horse, elephant, chariot, and army.
To accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy, and also out of affection for the Lord. Maharaj Yudhisthira, although no one's enemy, engaged 4 divisions of defense, horse, elephant, chariot, and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of the Asuras, demons. The Maharaj did this because of the enemy, and also out of affection for the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Natural defensive measures are horses and elephants combined with chariots and men. Horses and elephants are trained to move to any part of the hills or forests and plains. The charioteers could fight with many horses and elephants by the strength of powerful arrows, even up to the standard of the Brahmarastra, similar to modern atomic weapons. Maharaj Yudhisthira knew well that Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher, and yet there were Asuras who were by nature envious of the Lord. So out of fear of attack from others and out of affection also, he engaged all varieties of defensive forces as bodyguards of Lord Krishna. If required, Lord Krishna himself was sufficient to defend himself from the attack of others who counted the Lord as their enemy. But Still, he accepted all the arrangements made by Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he could not disobey the king, who was his elder cousin. The Lord plays the part of a subordinate in his transcendental sporting, and thus sometimes he puts himself in the care of Yasodamata for his protection in his so-called helplessness of childhood. That's the transcendental Leela, or pastime of the Lord. The basic principle for all transcendental exchanges between the Lord and his devotees is exhibited to enjoy a transcendental bliss for which there is no comparison, even up to the level of Brahmananda. Om Gyantamanandasya Nandana Shalakaya Chashutun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I've been meditating on Lord Brahma's being. In Gayatri Mantra, he is the first verse we're meditating upon, but then also now getting the realization that Lord Chaitanya is seated upon that throne by seeing the vision of Bhaktivinoda Thakur as real. And so we see that the whole universe is under the control of the Yuga Dharma avatar, who Lord Chaitanya is. But now this kind, affectionate gesture that Yudhishthira is making towards Krishna is not because he doesn't think Krishna is able to protect himself. This is a gesture of kindness that he's making so that Krishna doesn't have to be troubled and the armies can take care of the demons themselves while they're riding safely in the chariots, so they could have conversation and not be bothered by demons. It might look here that Yudhishthira is seeing him as other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it is again a gesture of friendly kindness and as a family member as well. But you know, we can see too that people do forget. Even they just saw a witness of Krishna killing a demon, Kaliya or whoever they're killing, and then they immediately want to protect him. You might perform some activity that no man could kill this, giant demon, and yet Krishna was there to kill him. And then moments later, here we are wanting to protect Krishna. That's the nature of human beings. But see, then I was discussing with Mother Uma in also Asia, I think, as well, about the nature of Lord Brahma. If he has 4 heads, and he's using all 4 lips in mantra, for the use of mantra creation, he also has 4 minds to think with. So where we might see him limited to be able to recite 4 mantras, 4 minds unlimited will give him access to 4 more means of being able to have communion with Krishna, which puts him, out of the reach of the level of advancement he is able to make with 4 heads. We are unable to achieve in this 1 head we are in now. Not to say that we can't have love for Krishna at the highest peak possible in this one body. But Brahma can do that 4 times. So we're able to do that once. But this control of the mind also, not so much emphasized on this verse, but it is in that it is as well related to how we look at Krishna and all these various activities very much determines the relationship we are having with him at the time we are seeing him in such a position. And he takes pleasure while we are reading these pastimes as super soul. So, see the respect that Krishna recognizes in Lord Brahma for his position as Mahavishnu in the center of the causal ocean. I've also been meditating on this form of Mahavishnu, from whom the planetary systems, from whose body the planetary systems are coming from the navel of. Now, we see our navel as the means we were supplied nourishment with this body, taking it in from our mother. Whereas Lord Vishnu, in the opposite form, his body is giving out from its umbilical cord, so to speak, the ability for all other life to come into the universe. So he is the grandfather, you may say, of sorts, as Mahavishnu, the great creative form, but as such, still he is the maintainer. Whereas Brahma is he's in a position, Lord Brahma, he's in a position of control, but he's also in a position of worship, constant worship. Just as he reveals in the form of Haridas, Namacharya. And he has filled himself up. So we can only imagine that when consciousness is revealed by what one speaks, right? We're speaking from our minds, from our hearts, from the intentions and purposes we have in our hearts. The Brahmas, all four tongues, are constantly engaged in spiritual mantras. We can only conclude that the same way his consciousness is of the same nature. Now, some of these demons take to having more than one head. They're involving all of their heads in demonic mentality. So having more than one head is not in and of itself a great achievement. But using what we do have to the fullest extent, like Brahma's example is, as we see in Namacharya Haridas Thakur, chanting, what is it, like 192 rounds a day? I can't envision 64 rounds a day myself yet. I'm working towards that. My guru, I know, spent some time in Mayapur chanting 64 rounds, and his testimony was that he was, in his mind, making a big deal of it, and that there were Matajis there that had been chanting that for some time, and they were just considering it normal way of becoming a human being, which is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta established as the minimum for a human being, to come to the standard of human being. And he was saying we have to chant 64 rounds. See, our concept in life, as far as our achieving is concerned, not based on our ability to chant at all, or to chant purely. And yet this is what Krishna is giving as a means to be able to develop pure consciousness. So none of the jobs that I see are being centered around the development of consciousness, except marginally or somewhat removed. And what I'm getting more and more the idea of is that people are being hypnotized. When we use the term illusion, and in reference to society's ability to promote in it by its control of the upbringing of the minds of its young people, then it has the ability to instill within those minds its belief systems. Because those little minds that have not yet progressed to the stage of being able to determine right from wrong, good from evil, they are in a moldable situation where now the outcome of many of these ill-molded young people are in positions of leadership, misusing, because of unqualification, their positions to, rather than aid in their position given to them as a form of governmental position to the aid of society, they use the position rather for their own aggrandizement. And there's analyzing what men, okay, I'm included in that category, come to recognize in their minds as attractive to them, as portrayed by quote unquote women. And in fact, in most cases, especially in modern day, exactly contrary to the qualities Krishna is seeing in Shrimati Radharani and what is being revealed in our practitioners in Krishna consciousness, beauty is being believed to be that display of arrogant show of one's physical body. This arrogance that comes out, believed to be beauty. But it is coming from one who wants to be adored. It is coming from one who wants to control all those who they come in contact with. They want to be looked upon. They want to be served. They don't want to serve, they want to be served. And that is the mentality men are looking at and adoring and serving throughout their relationships with such persons. And through the development, the attachment they have for one another in such a relationship. At the end of having to pay for the wrongs they've done in hell, then they get to be back together in the same kind of thing again. Over and over and over and over again. Never knowing the chasteness, the purity of the experience of the love of God, which includes covering one's body like a sari does. Saris cover a body more so than we see women walking around in underwear. And men's clothing is also made in the fashion of what we would normally consider our underwear. In a society now that has come so far away from God's principles so as to make us believe, and they have in our childhoods and the upgrowing in our early ages of grade school, hypnotized us into believing right is wrong and wrong is right. without knowing it, because the whole society is under that same illusion. So then when someone comes along preaching the ways that we should return to, then they're looked at as odd, peculiar, rebellious. What do you call them? The same way Lord Chaitanya was being looked at by Kankazi, even as a criminal. He was having his guards go break these mridanga drums. Now, we are actually in an opposite position here. When we have ourselves, well, I have myself knowledge of prophecies that are spoken of by people that we have not yet introduced ourselves to, so to speak, because they are themselves removed from our society. They don't interact, the whole group of people calling themselves American citizens. A lot of these Native American cultures of people that have been persecuted by the members of the United States' laws that have driven them out of their own territories, that have disabled them from being able to practice some of their religious practices by it being believed to be primitive and so on and so forth. They have within themselves a right to look at us in a different way from we look at ourselves. And so they will feel in themselves the need to remain secretive of their own religious practices because of the fact that they have been restricted. And so we don't get to hear all these cultures that have in the past have need to separate themselves and their religious practices from the rest of humanity. They have had to recluse themselves, separate themselves. And so by our own prejudiced viewpoints about them, we don't get the benefit of their interactions with us to give us a more complete viewpoint. And some of the prophecies that they have been given, that Krishna has allowed them because of their, sometimes in some cases, their innocence of being persecuted without a cause. Krishna looks upon the orphans and those that are oppressed and whose parents have been taken away without reason. It's what wars is causing people. They lose their parents. Who will bring up the child then when the parents are gone? And see what is happening in American society? None of the children are getting raised by their parents. They haven't been for the last 200 years. They get raised by a school teacher who is being given the responsibility to raise 40, 50 kids at one time and only for 1 hour. Then it's got to be given over to another, in some cases, non-parental human being who has gone through a bit of schooling to be hypnotized in believing that we are the most advanced society that ever was and ever will be. And we are progressing along the edge of, modern advancement. And no one is greater than we are. This is what being promoted by most colleges, most schools, all public school system is set up in this way to believe that we are in this way. And this further in the mind of the participant generates the idea, I, me, and mine. The false ego is meant to be promoted. So, those who gain control by use of the false ego in the material world are being recognized as the heroes of society. So many qualities that are being thought to be attractive in human beings are actually manifestations of what Krishna is calling asuric or demonic. And so as we, in our minds, elevate these manifestations of desire for adoration, distinction, which are manifestations of pride, arrogance, these things, we will also have those as our goals to develop, which is what most schools are promoting. They have no concept of the need to break down the false ego. There is no school. 101, false ego 101. No, there is no school of that. And so what is allowed to be happening is people are not growing spiritually, while scientifically they are growing intellectually. And so without spiritual growth, then the qualities that will help that individual pursue those developed desires he has to pursue will be on the path towards the benefit of all humanity at large, and not towards the selfish desire one has to look pretty and be strong, and these kinds of things that we magnify in society as being most important. Because automatically coming by seeing ourselves in a position of servants, not as ultimately servants of one another either, because what makes us allow us to serve one another properly is that ultimately we are serving the one who is directly connected to the Supreme Person. So in this way, we are serving the highest cause therein. So serving in that nature is better than lording it over against that force. So that's what the breaking of all these ethical, moral principles set up by God, established as a guide for society to be able to work within itself as a functioning whole, and to have aims for it as a whole to work towards. And that is made easy by the function of an institution like the ISKCON organization that Srila Prabhupada has established. Yeah, because see, like we do every day, we're working and preparing foods for Krishna. We're working together preparing garlands for Krishna. We're working to make Krishna look nice, and to make dresses for him, and garments, and all these activities that we're engaged in. We go to feed Krishna, we're looking for foods that he would like to eat. All these things, no longer for our own benefit. Now when we go out, we're looking for what Krishna would like to have. And this is the breaking down. It happens automatically. And we don't think of ourselves, oh, now I'm great because no, I'm a servant. We gain, here's a statement in the Bible that really has application in Vedic culture. In my weakness, then I am strong. In my weakness, he is made strong. So we come to know, this goes right along with Mother Queen Kunti's prayer to Krishna, that when we are in that place of dependence, we are brought to that place where we know we need you, where we're supposed to be all the time, in that place of knowing we always need you to keep us, when we think even. And we have thoughts at every moment, we're having thoughts. And as long as we abide in the spirituality of Krishna consciousness, and those thoughts will be of an eternal nature. And that's where love, that's where happiness, contentment, satisfaction. We see so much dissatisfaction today in the world, being recognized as something that has to be met. Everybody has to be content with what they want. Society to be, they want their environmental situation to be. Everybody has to find contentment for somebody else to do something for them to make them happy. That's not happiness at all. We are made of a substance to know the reality of. An eternal substance that is complete in its connection to the Supreme from whom it came. It is complete in its ability to access that knowledge which it is by that which the Supreme has given us to connect him with, which is this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because see, as we're chanting and the heart's desires are being purified, that is pleasing to the one who's sharing this body with us, and then automatically, he, as a reward to us, to give us impetus to want to do that more and more, and this becomes a daily experience. It's like when a parent sees a child getting good grades. They want to reward the child, right? Take him out to dinner, give him a special meal that he likes, buy him an ice cream sundae he likes, these kinds of things. Krishna does that to us. And the greatest reward we can come to find is that knowledge of Krishna himself that he wants to share with us, and that comes from consciousness. And you can experience sitting in one place, and nobody knows. It's hidden. It's confidential. It's like the fruits I put at the bottom of the bowl that you can't see from the outside. Krishna can see them. He saw them through the eyes I have to be able to know what's in there. See, we're like that too. Covered by this material mucus, pus, and blood is a glorious manifestation of the energy of God that is more brilliant than billions of our suns that we see in the middle of the universe. This energy that we are. Lord Chaitanya reveals that. And we think of that only as him. But he makes statements to lead us to understand that that is the nature of the soul. And so there is a lot for us to sit in one place and not have to leave to realize what we are. What we are. And look at all the past accomplishments. We accredit human beings in their abilities to create machines in this physical world, all of which have an impetus to keep people connected to this material world. Isn't it a fact? Doesn't the car, doesn't the machine, whatever you want to call it, the fan, the air conditioner, they're all making life here for us to have us believe that this is the place to be. This is our eternal dwelling, so to speak, right? It's not really an impetus for us to want to get out of here. And yet, ultimately, we should see this as a place we have to get out of, except for the purpose of preaching. Why do we preach? To help them get out of it, to help them get out of here. So, see, while everybody is looking at the advancement of big house, big palace, wonderful, environmental circumstances we've created here, parks and luxury, dining, fancy this, and luxurious that, and elegant this, and for what? What is the end result? We're going to end up in a sick bed, breathing our last airs, wishing we could have done something significant to enable others to find the eternity that can be found and known by the human being who has the desire to know the nature of the Supreme Person from whom all life has come. Available to us is that consciousness of the Supreme Person who has given us the means of being able to join with that consciousness that he is manifesting within us, that would be enabled by our engaging in the activities that he gives us knowledge of through his Vedic literatures. And that's what the Krishna consciousness movement is all about. And that's what makes the life of a devotee so much easier, even when put into difficulties. Our lives, by knowing the one who can overcome all difficulties of our lives by personal experience. Yeah. Every time Krishna answers those requests we make as servants to be able to perform those activities necessary for us to act as devotees, whether that means being married, holding a job, developing more knowledge about certain things we have to do, exposing ourselves, being willing to exposing ourselves to the consciousness that these people have when we take in training from them to perform these activities, but to know how to put them in proper perspective, that they can gain benefit by our learning from them, by our application spiritually. So all that knowledge you've learned about how to function in the material world and our society, every bit of that you use of your life to apply to Krishna consciousness gives benefit to those that have trained you to use these arts and crafts now that you have the ability to use. Just the same way, someone who has taken training lessons to sing, their teacher, when they sing, gets benefit.
Yeah.
Someone teaches you how to play harmonium. Krishna, his laws of karma work like that. So you can think like that. So we think of this is the difference between when we go out, I want to get something, I got to have something, got to have this, no. When we go out, we have Krishna to give people.
Check.
So everywhere you're going that you're hoping to be fulfilled in some way, it is an act of Krishna's extension through them. It is Krishna reaching to you from them, that he has given them a certain aspect of life that you desire that they can give you, that they don't even know. It's connected to him. But you're going to connect it to him by your acts in your life. So every act that you engage in Krishna consciousness also goes to the benefit of every soul that has been engaged in giving you training that you've got to this stage. That's Krishna's love is manifest like that. He is looking to give people credit. You see that in his life. He takes the little tiniest bit. Sudam gave him a grain of rice. Sudam, you better not give me any more, because then your devotion, the love that he was giving it in, is what Krishna saw as that could move him to do anything. See, that's what we're being brought to the point of in the knowledge of what Srila Prabhupada says. You can move God by your own love for him, and move God to do things. Might cut it short today. Any comments, any questions? Because I got to run to the call of nature. And if I don't do that, everybody will wish I had. Me mostly. What is it?
Nice class.
Anyone have any comments, questions, realizations?
So, you mentioned like any art we learn from, so that we get benefited from this sort of Krishna service. And if we want to learn something then for Krishna, then it's Krishna's will to engage somebody to teach us, right? That's what you said. Did I understand correct?
Yeah. They don't even know it. See, the same way, when you give them the opportunity to take a Bhagavad Gita, when you give them the opportunity to hear what you have to say about Krishna, they don't know the benefit they're getting from that. Because Krishna's planting a seed in their heart. And see, just like we don't know when we look, the seed's buried, right? We don't know what's going to happen till actually it gets fed. And when it starts getting fed, oh wow, sprout comes up. Something's happening. Then they start asking you. Something happens in their life that causes them to think about some conversation they had with you before, and then they say, wow, I wonder what she thinks about this and that or the other thing here. And it just may have been out of a casual conversation subject that happened to them down the road that reminded them of you. And it's because that connection is there. See, all human beings at one time on the planet had this connection consciously. It's the same super soul, the same person is divided as super soul within us, but it's the same conscious extension of Krishna's personality, who is sharing our bodies with us and able to intermingle with our consciousness, give us his happiness, give us his perspective to see things so that we can find the security, the peace, the happiness that he wants us to be examples of. So, see, from this we can understand he wants it more than we do. Because as much as we don't follow perfectly is the amount that we're missing what Krishna wants us to be able to be complete even. But the process is gradual and it's made in such a way. Krishna's not going to bring us back before the time. But by that we can know also people that are going, they've come to the time. We don't hurry it along. We don't look away from it and as it's being like disastrous or something. It's a continuation of what we're doing here. That time we go from this body to the next experience after this body's finished. The Krishna can transform, we've been talking about this a lot, because Krishna transformed Narada Muni's body. And even accounts in the Bible as well, Enoch walked with God. So it appears as though those that were walking with Krishna had the same kind of bodies we do. They shed blood, right? Battlefield of Kurukshetra was so full of blood. You go there today, it's still red. The sand is red. From the blood it's described as having been turned red by the blood that was shed. So many millions. 11 oxohenes means, as we were described in this verse, divisions of men that are in a military group. Yeah, you have horses, you have chariots, you have elephants, and then you have foot soldiers as well. So if there's only a million foot soldiers, they are a smaller part of what the entirety of the rest of the phalanx is. So we're talking about maybe 3, 4, 5 million altogether in each that is called a oxohene. Yeah. And there were 7 oxohenes, which would mean 21 million approximately 21 million against the Pandavas who had seven actual genies. Oh wait, Kauravas had 11, so that would mean 33 million soldiers against approximately 21, which is a lot. It's a third more.
They said 640 million people died in the Kurukshetra.
But just the one person of the whole made the big difference, and it was Krishna. Whichever side Krishna would have been on. Isn't that? If Duryodhana had to pick Krishna, what would happen? That's a pretty heavy-duty thought. Damn, Krishna, what would happen if Duryodhana? But Krishna knew the whole thing.
Yeah.
Knew beforehand, knew afterward. It is the way. See, to know what purity is to know what arrogance would do also. They're predictable. More so predictable is arrogance than humility and chasteness and kindness and meekness. You never know what these people will do. Some act of kindness. But arrogance, comes before a fall. So people that are arrogant, proud, puffed up, all these things that we know are not good, you can fall down. This has to do with what we see in the perfection of Yudhisthira's being able to envision the future by recognizing the evidence of the present being given to us about the future called omens. You could read omens. So I was saying the other day, Srila Prabhupada read the act of a dog dying in the freezing water of Detroit at the end of the pier here as an omen that boys and girls in Detroit shouldn't be required to have to take a cold shower in Detroit during the wintertime, as that dog died in the ice water, not being able to get out. So see, Krishna talks to us like that with things that it would seem would only be natural occurring events in nature. Just like I saw a priest of Lord Shiva being spoken to by a bird, that Lord Shiva himself had taken the form of. This is abilities developed by servants that wouldn't thought to be able to be developed by being a servant by our normal society standards. But here's a statement by the one they call Jesus Christ. He said, the meek shall inherit the earth. Wow, what a statement that is. Because when you think about it, the earth belongs to God. But those who are meek think that way. So, if the earth belongs to God and we are servants of God, then we use the earth for God's service. And it's all God's. So no matter where you go in the earth, it belongs to the same one you're serving, your Father. This is his house. Every house is Krishna's. Every breath we breathe came out of the body originally from Krishna. Every drink we drink of water, it came out of the body of Krishna, came from the throne of Krishna. Then diverted and polluted all this, but this is how the earth originally got. So now we can be returned to its original state, and that's what Krishna is calling us to do, to return to our original eternal state, to know the happiness of that. It is a real foundation, everlasting foundation. We can be fully satisfied in and find love, pure love, love in its highest manifestation. So, any comments, any questions, any realizations? Now we're really closed. End of class. Grantara Shrimadbhagavatam, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Jai, ISKCON.